All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Gym Life Podcast. Going across the pond again to my favorite class and a guy that I've been hoping to get on for quite a while now. Winner of Britain's Strongest Man U105 2 years in a row, 21-22. Clash of the Coast, second place, and Ultimate Strongman recently in Paris, third place, and former world record holder in the deadlift. And we'll talk about that as well because I know that's on your list somewhere on a different list. We'll talk about that
Yeah,
as well. But
yeah,
without any further ado, Matthew McKeegan, thanks for joining me today.
yeah. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I've listened to the last few podcasts, and they're always very good to listen to.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I try to get everybody involved. You know, this strongman community we have isn't all about just one country or another anymore. You know, we're global with the reach
Yeah,
that we get and the people that we get a chance to get to know. And I think more recently, Clash of the Coast, OSG has provided the Americans some opportunity to see a lot of you guys that compete over in Europe.
yeah.
Now
No,
we
for
just
sure.
got to find a way to get them over to compete more against you guys.
Yeah,
And
we talked
help
about
these
that.
better shows.
I think last year at OSG when I was speaking to Cambi and Justin Loy, and then even the 80 and 90 guys like Derek and Tommy Lavelle, all the Americans had said they nearly wish OSG was in Europe one year, just so the caliber was a bit better. Because even they all said it's like America's Strongest Man versus one or two Europeans, because it costs a lot of money to get from Europe to, like I just booked my flights last week, so flights and accommodations for I'm staying in 10 days though, for 10 days. So let's say you just stayed in Daytona for, let's say, 6 days for the comp, you're still talking like $800-900, which is I'm
Yeah.
very grateful. I'm in the position I'm in as a business owner and a sponsored athlete to be there. But for someone that's just started or just qualified for the first time, it's a hefty fee. Um, and
Yeah, it is. I was talking to Piscari about it and Luke Davies as well. I know is a friend of yours. And, you know,
yeah,
he always makes that comment as well. It's just not a cheap thing to do when you're trying to bring the
yeah,
world together on these
yeah.
different platforms.
Yeah, it's hard to justify spending that money unless you really know you're going to go and do well. Because I was invited in 2019, I was invited in 2020, and I just didn't go because I thought maybe I might get into top 10 the final day, but I'm not spending $1,000 to go and just maybe make top 10. Whereas last year I went, uh, and I really felt as if I could podium, and I came fourth, which was good. Like so, and then obviously going back this year, put myself down as a massive contender. So it's definitely worthwhile
Yeah,
now.
I think you're on top of that list for sure. And it's going to be a hell of a battle. As you know, we got a guy that's returning that right now. Everybody wants to knock off the top. And so that'll
Yeah.
be really fun to watch. But before we get into that, you know, you're an interesting guy because you're on this American scene now, in large part to OSG and Clash. Guys
Mm,
have gotten really familiar with you. You're pretty
yeah.
flamboyant. You're unfiltered. You know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of there's a lot of transparency with you. I watched your
Yeah.
video today, A Day in the Life of Matt. I got a kick out of it. Everybody should go watch that.
Yeah.
So you're not a guy that you wear yourself on your sleeve pretty well. How did the strongman stuff all start for you, man? I mean, what's your backstory and how'd you get involved in the sport?
For years, I was involved in bodybuilding, like 6, 7 years. So I've been training properly now, I would say 11, 12 years. But it was bodybuilding I first started off in. And just looking back, man, like even within 6 months of training, I was so blissfully unaware of how strong I actually was because I didn't understand what strong was when I was 18,
Sure.
19. I was just training for fun, and I could deadlift 5 plates aside for reps within a couple of months. I could dumbbell press like 100 pound each hand. But I just enjoyed it. But my goal was always bodybuilding, so I didn't really care about what I could lift. I just went down and lifted more each week. And then I was Dave Warner. I think I've told the story 20 times in podcast, but Dave, who's heavily involved at Jazz Live and OSG, he runs the bodybuilding comps in Ireland and the official Strongman Games comps here. And I knew Dave through bodybuilding, and I was training in Dave's gym one day, and I seen me deadlift 300. For the first time, I was wearing like a pair of Nike Air Max, and I looked at this man. Did you just deadlift 300 kilos in a pair of those fucking shoes? And I was like, yeah. Why is that? Is that good? And he was like, yeah, it's good. And he was like, would you ever do strongman? And at the time, I wasn't aware of the weight classes. So when he said strongman, I was just thinking of Eddie Hall and Thor, and I was like, man, I'm a
Sure.
fucking. At the time, I was like 95 kilos. I was like, I can't do strongman. And he's like, trust me, you can do strongman. And he told me about the classes. And there's a beginner's comp, like a first timers comp, the week after in Ireland. And he says, look, I know the guy running this comp. You're doing it. He took me the next day for like a 1 hour introductory session to like the movements. I went down to the comp and I won it, and haven't looked back since. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, the rest is history. You know, your story, like a lot of elite strongmen, kind of starts off that way. It's funny how
Yeah,
you guys all end up at the top. You know, talking to Emmanuel last week,
yeah,
it was a similar story. You know,
yeah,
you found yourself unbelievably strong compared to most guys.
yeah.
The sport of strongman introduced itself, and before you know it, you're on top of the sport. Because it sounds like
Yeah.
you've only been at it then for what, 4 or 5 years?
I would say properly, like properly dedicated. Because the start, I still was doing a bit of bodybuilding in the background. So it was, and that was like the funny thing. I remember my first max deadlift comp. I landed to this competition. All these guys were in the deadlift suits and stuff. And man, I bunched up. I was 2 weeks out from a show. I was fucking peeled. It was like 1,500 calories. This wee tiny flimsy belt, a pair of straps that were barely fucking held together. And I was like, man, what's that big suit thing? What's that thing you're wearing? I was oblivious. And I think I came second that day. I pulled like 345 kilos. And I think that was when I was really like aware of what had happened. And as I said, it was just from that then. That was me. I was still sort of hooked in the bodybuilding thing because even still to this day, I still like to stay nice and aesthetic.
Yeah,
Just more for health. But then yeah, well, once I broke the Irish deadlift record, that's when I says right, okay. But bodybuilding anywhere in the world, it's like the cream, like the 1 percentile that make it the top. And even at that, I think it's in any sport you have to be the best to get somewhere. But bodybuilding is just, there's a lot more to it, and it's a lot harder to get somewhere. I just made a decision. I was like, look, I'd won a few bodybuilding titles. You see the trophies in the background, but I was never going to be a pro. And within like the first year strongman, I was just winning competitions at fucking all over the place. And I was like, right, this is it now. I'll give this a go full time.
Well, I think you made the right decision, Matt. I mean, let's face it, man. You came onto this scene pretty quickly in 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
My question is, you with that deadlift, real quick. Were you always a good deadlifter? Or you just didn't know. I mean, was it?
Yeah, but as I say, man, like within a few months of joining the gym, it's just one of those things. Like I was just deadlift, and then I went from again back to the bodybuilding thing. Obviously, I didn't have a clue how to program for strongman. Like bodybuilding is just progressive overload. You get in every week trying to lift heavier. So once I hit the 300 mark, I was just every week trying to lift like 302, 305, 310. I just get stuck. So then I employed a coach, Peter Bremner. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him. He's the Giants Live Deadlift World Champs and stuff. He trained at the West Side for a while. But so he coached me, and within like 14 months, I went from 300 kilos to 400 kilos. And then since then, it's obviously slowed down quite a bit. And then I broke the world record. I attempted the world record twice, missed it. Luke Davies beat me to it twice. And then I finally broke it. And then this is what put me off doing records. Not in a sour way. It was just like I dedicated 16 weeks of prep to a world record. I broke it, and then Blake from South Africa broke it like 6 months later. You know what I mean? It's like, and then even the British dumbbell record, I broke that last month. It was broken a week later. So records come and go. So I've just decided to chase down titles more. If the opportunity arises, like in a comp like it that at Paris, to try and break the world record, I would give it a go on the day. But I would never set out just to break the world record again, unless it was offered money.
I was talking to Luke. We had that pregame show there for the Ultimate Strongman in Paris last weekend, a couple weekends ago, and he had mentioned that. I know you and Luke are close friends, and Luke had mentioned, listen, if it's there and somebody's pushing him, he's going to go after it. But Matt's more about being on the podium than he is about breaking records. So you've taken a step back from that mindset then, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think at one point in Ireland, I held all the 105 records. I think I do. I still hold the deadlift and the dumbbell. But like last week, as I say, last month's a prime example. The dumbbell record was broken. It was broke a week later. It broke again. Whereas your Britain's Strongest Man, 21, 22, Ireland's Strongest Man, 2020, whatever else. Them titles can never be taken away. And I'm just more focused now on being a complete athlete. And then even on the day in Paris, I was still very conservative because I can't even remember the lad's name now. I think he's from Thailand. He pulled 400. He beat me that day.
Oh yeah.
So we both opened with 360, and his 360 was fucking slow. So I said, what are you lifting next? And he says 400. I said, okay, I'll lift 380 because I don't think you want to lift 400. and I lifted it, and I was like, oh man. And then by the time I went 360, 380, the time I went to that 400, I was just too tired. I just, and then again, the bar that day, it was some version of a deadlift bar, but it was quite stiff and it was short. And then again, like people come on and say like a bar doesn't make a difference and this and that. See when you're lifting world record weight, the smallest thing makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Like even there's a competition there, a charity. We tried to raise money for charity. I had like 9 clients go to Liverpool earlier this year, and I said again, I'll try and break the world record at Fit Expo. And the setup, man, was fucking horrible. So backstage, the warm-up plates went up to like 280 kilos. The plates weren't calibrated. There was bumper plates. It was a stuff bar. So I got to 280. They gave me a lift of 330 on the stage, 1 rep. My opening lift was 380. So I went from 280, 330, 380 to try and attempt the world record. It didn't even come off the fucking floor. And then when it's, as I say, when it's world record stuff, it has to be the way it is in the gym. For me, it does anyway. Like,
you set it up as the individual event, right? You're familiar with the apparatus and all that, but you're right. I mean, to break a record in competition is not an easy thing to do. We saw it. Well, we've seen it a couple times now. The pressing records going back and forth. I know Emmanuel set it up. That was more of a world record attempt that he was doing kind of as a standalone that day. Cambi goes out. I think he broke the circus dumbbell record at America's Strongest Man recently. But you're right. I mean, you guys are now kind of all, there's this culmination to the top of the world right now. And it gets us all kind of thinking globally, and I made a mention of this last week. How do we get this super show to happen? But I get it, though. You have bigger fish to fry right now. You're going to OSG. You made this list, and I call it the infamous list, right? Because everybody loves that list. Yeah. But you made it out of respect to all those guys on that list.
Yeah.
The only way to get to the top is to beat every one of those guys. And I get it. Not every weekend you're going to beat all those guys. It's just got to happen kind of perfectly. I think the only guy really running with that right now is Cambi. It seems like he hasn't lost in 2 years, but you're getting ready to meet him at OSG.
Yeah, I was disappointed it didn't go to Clash because obviously, as you've just said, you're not the best until you beat the best. And that's my opinion. Like, say for example, Cambi get injured before World's Strongest Man. Hope he doesn't, obviously. And I won. I still wouldn't class myself as world number one. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same here in Ireland. Like last year, I didn't do the 105 comp or the 110 comp, whatever it is now. And not in an arrogant way. The other lads lifted the trophy, but it doesn't mean they're better than me. And it's the same in Paris. Like Dean beat me. I beat him at Brits. So it's, see, when you're at that top level athletes, you could do 4 months of competition. So a competition per month, the same 10 people, and someone different would win every month for multiple reasons, because the events just loads of stuff, loads of different things can come under that. But I'm very, very, very excited this year for OSC because I feel like I've worked very hard. Like last year, Yoke let me down a lot. This year, it definitely will not. So I don't focus too much ever on what anybody else is doing, but to say you're not looking at Cambi to see where you think you might stack up, you're lying to yourself. And then I know Cambi's an absolute freak, so he's going to be working hard on his weaknesses the way I am. But in my opinion, just looking at the events that day, I think he's liable to drop more points in something like the deadlift, being his worst event, compared to me being the yoke being my worst event. And that's me taking on the perspective. If we both go on 100% and perform at 100%, in my opinion, I feel like I can beat him. And respectfully, Cambi's amazing, but I feel this year, and see anybody that's at the top and they're going to a comp and they're not talking about wanting to win or beat the number one. It's not a disrespectful thing. It's competitiveness. If you come to a competition and you say you don't want to beat number one, you're a liar. Or if you don't want to beat number one, why are you there in the first place? Do you know what I mean?
No, you said it right, and I really like the way you articulated that, because that is the truth. You're going in and you're looking at, and it's just kind of like how you laid it out, right? You're looking at these events, and anybody at the top going against the top kind of understands that it comes down to just a couple of points, giving something away over here to get something back over here. And I know your game seems to be pretty rounded. You're not a guy. I mean, I wouldn't guess that your pressing was an issue or your yoke was an issue, just based on how strong your posterior chain is.
Yeah.
But you seem like a pretty well-rounded guy. Was there ever any issues, or have you brought everything up pretty evenly?
Oh man, I was so bad at yoke and so bad at overhead for such a long time, and it had just it had never cost me big at any events before the pro comps. But Clash, for example, like the yoke, uh, I went quite slow in the yoke and the frame medley. I'm very good at frame, so I picked up a lot of speed in the frame. But something like that, like 2 or 3 points there, literally could have been
Yeah.
the difference between me beating Isaac for the first spot. And I'm a very obsessive person, so like for 2 years I trained yoke 3 times a week just to get better at it. Same with log, same with dumbbell. And it's just came to the point now where I genuinely don't have anything that I am bad at. So and me saying like yoke gonna do OSG is my worst event. When I say my worst event, I mean I'll be looking to place fourth or fifth in that event. And
Okay.
so it's still like this week. Last week we're doing sets of 350 kilos, and I finished all them for 15 feet in 10 seconds. This week was 370. I said 12 seconds. We did them all in 11. Next week's between 390 and 400, which is just shy of comp weight. So if I can do those 14, 15 seconds, the one in time last year was like 12 and a half seconds, big Justin Loy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I can stay 13, 14, 15 seconds, that's at my worst event. If your worst event's fifth or sixth, you're doing well.
Yeah, I would say you're right. I mean, that's where you want to be on your worst event. Let's
Yeah,
face it. I mean, yeah, if you're giving one away, you're going to give one away at fifth or sixth place.
yeah.
How I was at Clash this year, I didn't get a chance to meet you. I was obviously going in 100 different directions, but I paid close attention. Of course, you've got this flamboyancy about you. You know, I obviously people have made this reference to you before. I'm sure the Conor McGregor of strongman. You know, you've kind of got the Irish attitude that you carry with you.
Yeah.
Do you get that a lot from the American side of things or anywhere?
Yeah. So the nickname, the Irish Juggernaut that Mike O'Connor gave me, and then the crowd like it because like when I'm there, I'm a quiet, friendly guy. But when I'm there and I'm competing, I'm not there to be friends with you. I'm there to win. I'm there to I'm there for a job. And once we're finished, like hospitality, respect. And I'm just very grateful. Like I'm in the position that I am. If someone would have said to me 2 or 3 years ago, you'd be going to America 3 or 4 times a year to compete and get paid, I'd laugh. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
I'm very humbled. It's a nice feeling. I'm very competitive. Just like we talked about before, I'm not there to be anybody's friend. I'm there to be respectful. I've made loads of friends. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm there for the task at hand. But that's on the field, competition field. Once I'm competing, it's like two different people. That's the reference we got to Clash. It's like it was TJ says, man, it's hard to understand how you can be such a savage out there, and then you come back here and you're so like 2 minutes later you're so nice and soft spoken, and it's like, well, this is competitive me, and this is just a human being me. You know, it's sort of a,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's indicative of a lot of competitors, and you know a lot of
yeah,
them. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
kind of just stay in your lane until the show's over. No hard feelings,
yeah.
but I'm here to get a job done.
Yeah, and I love the American scene quite a lot. And one thing, and I've got this coaching a lot of Americans now. It's like a brotherhood in America. It's everyone's so supportive. Whereas, see here in Britain and the UK, it's not like that, man, at all. There's
Really?
so many. No, there's so. I'm not going to talk too much because I don't like wasting energy on shitty people. But there's people, man. There's people quite recently this year that were quite close to me that it became bitter.
Wow.
And there's other athletes that yeah, and maybe that's just because I'm the best now in the country. Obviously, same as Cambi. Cambi, I know Cambi's loved, but Cambi's a lot of people that try and shit on him too on social media. That's
Yeah.
just what that comes with being number one. People want to hunt you
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. I
But
think
I
you're right.
think there's, and where I'm from, there's a lot of that old saying, everyone wants to see you do well, but not too much better than them. But in America, I don't see as much of that. Like I've made some really good friends in America
Yeah.
competing. The Cambi, Mike, my client Nick's one of my good friends, and then all the guys from Clash, like Nate Boland, a coach him now. I've made so many good friends, and everyone's just so nice and so supportive. It's just great to be a part of, and it's frustrating then when you come home. And you get that shit from other people, especially people that were once close to you, or
Yeah.
without saying too much, it's just I never understood that. If I go somewhere and someone beats me and they're better than me, shake their hand. I just need to go and get better.
Yeah.
I love seeing, especially people in the gym, my gym, or people from Ireland. I love seeing them go and do well. I just don't understand the mindset of not wanting to see someone else do well. we're all here with the same goals. Even people in other sports, CrossFit, powerlifting, it's not my thing. But man, if you want to be the best fucking CrossFitter in the world, you go for it, man. I hope you do well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I wonder, that's interesting, because I've never really heard that about the scene over there. Of course, I'm not super close to it. I know, of course, a few Brits and stuff, and you and a couple other guys from Europe, but I wonder if it's like that over here, because there's been such a push in recent years to grow the sport in America, because it really is behind the rest of the world in a big way. And I think collectively we all sort of know we got to get behind one another, because if we start chopping each other down, this shit's never going to grow over here.
Yeah, do you want to know what? I'm sure it happens everywhere, but I definitely just feel like I see it more here. And again, you want to be competitive, you want to be the best, but there's definitely, you have to be respectful of one another. I just don't understand it. Maybe you just haven't heard about it from Britain and Ireland. I can't comment in Europe. Any of the Europeans I've competed against are very nice. But maybe I'm the first person to have the balls to come on and say it publicly that other people are shitty, and that's
well, that makes perfect sense coming from you. I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to have you on. You're an unfiltered guy. You say it the way you see it, and I think everybody appreciates that. You've got a huge fan base over here in the United States, obviously because of your tenacious, the way you compete tenaciously, of course. But I think there's another side to you that we all kind of gravitate to, and that's that comical side that you have, that we see on social media, because that's how we get to know you. And I reference kind of the day in the life and Matt McKeegan this morning. And I mean, are you ever concerned with that? I mean, and I'm glad you're not. I'm not that guy, but the way that you kind of live sort of freely and sort of the way you're letting the rest of the world into your life, is that a concern of yours at all?
I've always said, like, a lot of people, you have to always remember where you came from and like what got you where you are. A lot of people do well or become successful and try and become someone they're not to maybe please other people. I just can't be that person. That's who I am. I try and have fun. Obviously, I'm not that way all the time. There's other sides to me as well. But yeah, I think social media is a very fake place. Especially in the fitness industry. That's why I did the video today, because you see this shit all the time. Influencers, this is what I do in a day. No, it's not. It's not what you do in a day. And what I did today is not what I do in a day. Maybe, but you can't take life too serious. The best way I could reference that was like this year at Clash. It was an ESPN. People were asking for autographs, taking pictures. We were on bars, getting recognized, and I came home on like the Wednesday. And I was taking my kids to school, and nobody even had a clue I was on ESPN. They didn't care. So you have to stay humble. And there's strongman makes up like 20% of my life. So the rest, just try and be myself and try not to be fake. Well, and if people like it, they like it. And if they don't, well, fuck whatever.
I think, hey, listen, I know you're not trying, but I think people like it. I think that's why you resonate so big with a bigger crowd globally, is because people understand the type of work ethic that you put in, but you also enjoy yourself. And I think that just is a good balance that I think a lot of athletes, I think a lot of them do show that to some degree, but it's always what we like to see as a consumer as well, because then we can relate to that kind of silliness, that silly side, that fun side, because that's important to grow this sport too, is that, and I always say it, man, I hope these guys all wear their personalities on their sleeve, because that's the only way this sport's going to grow globally, if you become a household name. And listen, there's responsibility to that, right? I mean, you want to kind of resonate with everybody.
Even like business wise and social media wise, if I put a video up tonight of me fucking, I don't know, deadlifting or whatever, people will watch it and be like, yeah, whatever. But if I put up a video like today and it's funny, it reaches more people.
Who is this guy? Yeah.
You get followers, you get likes, you get comments, you might get a few clients. Yeah. So it's and as you said, it's just who I am. I enjoy having fun. So it's just, as you say, just shows the real person, because social media is such a fake place. And it can be such a negative place. So if you can put something on social media that makes someone smile, even one person, that's a good day.
Yeah, I agree, and I like that philosophy. Congratulations on your new facility, MK Strength and Fitness, you got over there.
Yeah.
Your background then is in fitness and nutrition, is it? Because you do both, right?
Yeah, well, obviously come off a bodybuilding background. When I first started personal training, it was all like when I first started doing this now, when I first started coaching, you're talking like 6 or 7 years ago. So when the whole body transformation thing was really at its peak, And everyone, like, you'll notice, I notice here in this country, anyway, I'm not sure about America, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, bodybuilding was really, really big. And
Yeah.
strongman and powerlifting and CrossFit wasn't. And now it's like the opposite.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So back then, like, I made my reputation as a coach through coaching females, like fat loss journeys. I didn't target a female audience. It just happened to be I get loads of females. So once that was the general kind of clientele I was coaching, I studied a lot about female hormonal menstrual cycles, stuff like that. Did some nutrition courses, and then just through bodybuilding, man, you learn so much about nutrition and training.
Yeah.
And then I just really that's where the market was here. There was never really a market for full-time strength coaching as such, only until now, like, because I've done so well as an athlete, and then like nearly half of my clients are now American, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's only like the last year, but even at that, like the strong woman clientele, I'd say it's 50 programming, 50 nutrition. So yeah, nutrition is definitely my thing, like, and that's a big goal I have with, like, the Americans, because the weight cut thing in America is fucking mayhem. 10 kilos and 12 kilo cuts. So a lot of my clients have signed up with that. There's a female signed up a couple of weeks ago, and it was the best example possible. I'm not going to name her names, but she was given like a water cut protocol, and she was drinking, like, man, she's 70 in the 70 kilo class. She was drinking like 10 liters of water a day, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, nobody ever needs to water load that hard, especially not a female. And it's just like her coach at the time just obviously has a one size fits all water cut plan.
Right. Sure.
And that's not how it works. Like, so I'm very passionate about teaching people how to just do this. Anybody that comes on to tell you that being a pro strongman's healthy is full of shit, but there's definitely a healthier way of doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm all about. So all my clients walk about, they're healthy, they eat well, they're fit, they can see their genitals and they look down. It's just about teaching people how to do this and do it well, be healthy, and just have longevity. Because I think the water cut thing has just been so normalized that people think it's okay, and it's not. Like, cutting 10 kilos in a couple of days could literally kill you. And I think because people Luke Davies put a good story up about it. Or was it Shane German? One of the two of them had a story up saying, "Oh, I cut 10 kilos and I feel fine today." It's just lies. You don't feel fine. You feel like shit. And what happens then is, say someone like me, like I cut 9 kilos in 2 days years ago for last minute comp, and I did a video about it. And I'm probably looking back, and it was quite reckless, because what happens is someone sees me do it, and then some guy does his first ever comp, shouldn't even be cutting weight for his first comp, fucks himself up. And it's the same with the whole PEDS thing, like performance enhancers. I never talk about it online anymore, and it's because, in my opinion, I think even when you say to someone, do not do this, this is what I do, it's just advice, it's still reckless for me, because you still get some young lad that is, oh fuck, I'm gonna do this, and before you know it, he's in the hospital, or do you know what I mean? So
no, there's a responsibility to it for sure. And it's interesting you bring up the water cut, because it is becoming normalized. The more and more athletes that I talk to, particularly in our sport, it's just like a part of their game now. And I'm not 100% on board with it either. Listen, there's a reason I'm a super heavyweight, man. I don't cut weight. Fuck all that. I like to stay heavy and eat good, but I do try to stay healthy. But the water cut to me is a dangerous road to hoe. I know some guys are great at it, and they know who I'm talking about, these guys.
Yeah, there's guys can't do it. Like Cambi can do it, and it doesn't phase him. And in America, you're blessed that you have the IV drips on hand. Sure. It's not as easy to do that here. But then the UFC banned fighters from rehydrating with IV drips for the reason it stopped them having such massive weight cuts. Because it's still dangerous. Like the IV drips, they're like a cheat code. But like Tommy Sharp at America's, I was following Tommy since Clash, and I was following him because he was doing the dumbbell world record. And obviously Tommy's weight cut had a big impact on his performance, because he didn't perform as well as he was going to. Because I always have a laugh and a joke when these lads post personal bests on Instagram. I'm like, guys, let me see you do that at 105 kilos. And I'm just joking, but in my opinion, Cambi is probably the only person that I can see that gets away with it. And even still, is he getting away with it? Like long term, health wise, is he getting away with it?
Right. We're not going to know. Right.
Because even talking to him after America's Strongest Man, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, he said it was his hardest cut, and he says he really struggled with it. So and even at that, Cambi's not fat. Cambi's just a big dude. Like Cambi walks about and he's in good shape. So I think Cambi's coming to the point now where he's probably going to have to look at moving up soon. Because for him to lose a few kilos, he's going to sacrifice a bit of muscle and power. Whereas there's other guys that are just fucking fat that just don't want to diet. Do you know? So.
Well, that is true. Well, yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure because the water cut does bring up a lot of questions in general. And I think you're right too. There's a lot of guys, even in the 90 class and 80 class, they're putting on muscle. They're just going to find themselves needing to move up in class. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. There's very few guys walking around with your stature. Well, maybe in the 105s, there's probably more than most. Certainly, Piscari is a perfect example of that. He's a real lean guy like you are. There are others out there as well. But for the most part, these guys don't know what it means to move around at weight, at competition. You basically just walk right in, right? There's no cut for you at all.
No, like a clash. All the Americans are fucking dying at weight cuts, and I was sipping a cup of coffee. And like even now this morning, well, 2 days ago I weighed in and it was 105.2. And I had this week was probably the first week that I felt that the prep had started to take a bit of its toll. The diet, maybe I was tired, so I had a 2 day of higher calories, and today I woke up at like 107. But tomorrow, because I'm back in my maintenance calories today, I'm back to 105. So I think, and that's where someone like me, being your coach, comes in, or any good nutritionist is going to be good, because most people don't understand how to recognize when the body needs what it does. And I'm like a big believer of giving your body what it needs when it needs it. But a lot of people don't know when to actually do that. And when they're in like diet phases, people end up having cheat meals just because they want one. Because they maybe miss a bit of junk food. But like for me, if you're a pro athlete, food's just fuel. Obviously, if you speak to any of my clients, they're not on very strict plans. They'll enjoy their food plans. There's plenty of variety, but at the same time, the food's there to do a job. You're not there to indulge in food, but it's just recognizing when your body needs it's just recognizing what your body needs when it needs it. I think a lot of guys don't know how to do that, and I think the attitude of I've got this far eating it this way, so I'm doing okay. But imagine how far you could go even again if your nutrition is on point. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's you'd mentioned it earlier in this part of the conversation that in the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, maybe, we've seen more programming, more concern with nutrition, more diet and coaching take a bigger part in what the strongman community is about. So you obviously, that was a real easy transition for you coming from bodybuilding. How is, I mean, do you coach a lot of strongmen yourself? Is it, I know over here, boy, everybody's got a strongman coach now. Everybody. Is it that in Europe and in Ireland and Britain right now as well?
Yeah, so online, like I have a cap of 50 clients, because I still get like 35 females to be coaching the groups within the gym. And then I always have kids, I have a gym to run. So I cap my coaching at 50. I've got 50 clients year round online. I could probably push that to more. As I said, I just don't have time. So it's at the minute, yes, it's very popular. But again, for me, it's like there's about 24, 25 of them is programming. Let's say 50.
Strong men, strong women in particular?
So let's say like 15 is program only, 15 is nutrition only, and there's about 10 or 15 that are in the balls deep package, I call it, that I just do everything for them. That's probably the best way I prefer it, because there's a few people I coach for nutrition only, and then come closer to comp time, or even far from comp time, you'll see their program or hear a bit about their program. And I never step on someone else's toes as a coach, but you'll see their program, but like, I would maybe do things maybe that way, but you can never say anything. So to have control of everything, like their program, their nutrition, their pads, their supplements, that's the best scenario, but it doesn't always work that way.
Who's coaching you right now? Do you do all your own programming? Do you have some coaches working with you?
No. Yeah, Lawrence Shally, Big Laws is coaching
me. Oh, that's right. Laws is working with you. Yeah.
Yeah, over I think just over 2 years now. Yeah.
Okay. That just takes the guessing out of it for you, doesn't it? Is it nice being the guy you are, knowing that you could probably do it yourself, but having a guy like Laws in your corner that just takes the thinking right out of it?
For sure. And the main reason the guy employed Laws is because he's been there, he's done that. Any competitions I'm going to do, he's going to have done them, so he knows about the equipment, he knows people. He's just doing it a long time. And then He's very laid back. I'm quite, as you say, flamboyant. I'm probably fucking hard to coach. Laws is hardest thing. Laws will tell you himself if you
You're
listen to this.
apologizing to Laz right now. Laz, he's apologizing to you right now.
Is the worst thing for me is getting me to not compete too much. Because last year I competed so many times, and Laws was afterwards. He says, "See next year, whatever comps I say you're doing, you're fucking doing, and that's it. You're doing no more." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So it's important to have someone to just pull the reins in, and then for me as a coach, you're just so busy. So when you just, if you have a coach, you follow your program, hit your numbers, send your videos, follow on the next week, and then what I find as a coach, like a decision I would make like that for a client, when it's for yourself, it's a whole fucking, oh my god, what do I do? And then, as I say, I just respect Laws a lot. This programming is very similar to mine. It's quite simple, old school. A lot of the new coaches out these days, man, there's some of well, Laws' programming style, it just suits me. It's not overcomplicated. There's no fancy shit. It just works. It just works, and we get on very. We became very good friends, and it's just great.
I like the fact too that you threw in that little bit about familiar with competitions, familiar with equipment, because that is a whole other level of it. Let's admit it. I mean, and you don't hear about a lot of that. So it's interesting that you say that, to get familiar with guys coaching you that you're going down a similar path.
Exactly. And it's the same maybe as the way I maybe so popular with where I am. And again, there's probably no other coach that everyone always says this to me. See in Ireland, see if a competition is fucking 6 hours away and I have someone competing on it, I go with them. And everyone says you're mad. I'm like, again, I'm blessed to be in a position to get to do what I'm doing. So and all the comps that people do around Ireland, I'll have done them before. I'll have used the equipment before. I know the promoters. So that's why I'm of a benefit to them as a coach, because I've been there, done that, and you can do more than program for them in that sense. And the Laws does the same for me, because obviously the Ultimate Strongman scene, he was on that in a big way. OSG, he's just done it all, man, and he can give you loads of wee points and tricks. And man, it's always good to be involved with someone who knows people, the contact wise, and it's the same with me. A lot of my clients can benefit from. Like I've got people invites here and there that might not have got them just because I knew someone I could put a good word in. Laws just helped me secure a sponsor I got recently. So it's there's if you're at the top and you're smart, there's more to just programming if you're picking a coach. It definitely is. Like,
those are wise words, man. Wise words. How you feeling right now?
Really good, man. Like really good. For Britons. And then Paris, there's a lot of debate about Paris. You might have seen the banter between me and Dean Madden. So obviously Clash, when I'm prepping for big comps, it's just tunnel vision, 6 to 8 weeks, nothing else matters. It's maybe a bad thing sometimes for people outside of strongman, like family life, but for Britain's Strongest Man, I knew he was good enough to go and win without fully being peaked, because the main goal was OSG. And then the night after Britain's, Laws and the program sent through straight away, and I was like, man, are you aware I'm in Paris in 4 weeks' time? You have no prep on there for Paris. He says, I don't give a fuck about Paris. He says, I'm prepping you for OSG. He says, if you want to do that comp, he says, you do the comp, prep yourself. I don't care. So I did a couple of sessions for that. So and the main reason, obviously, I wanted to defend my Britain's title. I'll probably do Britain's for the rest of my life, because the weekend Britain's is on, the year, the anniversary of my father's death. So that's very important for me. It's sentimental, and I just feel like with the mindset I can go to Britain's on for my dad, I think it'll be very hard to beat me. Just for that reason, because there's more to it than a comp thing. And then obviously
10 years in a row, bro. Honestly, that's awesome.
And then it's the main reason for those comps was like I didn't want to go to OSG with my last comp being Clash, because training hard is totally different to being in a comp environment. So I wanted to get under 2 competition environments that were of a high standard to get me back in that competitive mood, even though I wasn't fully prepared. So now we're full send for OSG. I think about it like 100 times. That's all I think about.
That's great. You're focused in on it, and you should be, because obviously that's a statement for you out there. I know in Daytona that is a real statement. I can't wait to see it. I honest to God, it's I think about it every day myself. What about Clash? Is there any thoughts to getting back to Clash, and how were you going to do that if you're going back?
Yeah, so to top 3 from this year qualify automatically for next year, so I'm going back.
So they did. The top 3 qualified. Okay. I know
Yeah,
the year prior was top 10, so he just took the top 3. Okay.
yeah, just top 3. Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
think
good.
that's.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think taking top 10 back's too
Yeah,
much.
yeah, I do too. I think top 3 is perfect. Top
And
10
in
max.
fairness, though, the only thing I would say about Clash compared to OSG, and I don't know last year because it was because of COVID, but like the gap in standard OSG is painful. Uh, for me to go and zero nearly every event, and it's fuck me, it'd be hard to take. And
Yeah.
even the final day, there was Cambi, Chad, and Justin, and them 3 were. I think they finished like 14 points ahead of me. They were way out lead. Then
Yeah.
there's me and Nick Hine, who's now my client. It was me and him were neck and neck all day for 4th and 5th, and then the other 5 were just the gap again. It might have been because of
Yeah,
COVID,
yeah. OSG's got a reputation for that for sure.
but
Yeah.
I think the issue with that was the online qualifier. It gets more people, and I understand why Lynn does it because it makes a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
do too.
money.
Yeah.
But for me, the way it should be is top 3 from every country around the world get
Yeah.
invited because
Yeah.
that's the best. Then that's the best.
Listen, and that's why I brought that up with Emmanuel last week. I said we need a super show. We need a world super show, and maybe
Mm,
OSG could do that. Maybe they could come up with their world super show, but it needs to be
mm,
an invite only.
yeah.
Like and not better than what World's Strongest Man is doing, as far as I'm concerned. These
Mm.
guys will all compete. Make it 20 guys. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, even if
it has to happen. It has
even
to
if you
happen.
handpick them,
Yeah.
even if they're handpicked, if you get a panel of like 5 educated
Yeah.
promoters or people
Yes.
like yourself that follow the sport and handpicked even 10 of the best,
Yes.
and the man, that would be a fucking show. That
Yeah.
would be
Oh, well, I
unbelievable.
tell you, I'm pushing it, man. I'm going to push the hell out of it because it has to be done. It has to be
Yeah,
done in
but
all the classes, but particularly in the 105s. The
yeah,
105 is ripe for this to happen right now because
would be amazing.
globally,
Man,
there's so
my,
much good
my,
shit going on out there.
my hairs are standing even thinking about what that
Yeah,
would be
I'm
like.
telling you. Listen,
The only thing I like in the sense of the online qualifier though for the OSG is there's always somebody that
yes,
nobody knows. Like
yes,
last year with the deadlift ladder, and Sean Shoemaker's never been a great deadlifter,
yes,
and Sean went before me, and he tried to go with the elephant bar with no straps, missed it, did it then, so he was slow. So I says, happy days. I'm going to go out here. I'll lift all the bars easily, but I'll not rush too much. And then Stephen Bradley, never even heard of the guy.
yeah,
He
yeah.
tripped over one of the fucking bars and still beat me. So, and
That is the nice thing about OSG and the qualifiers, for sure, for
but
sure.
there's always like even last year when I went there, I was obviously people maybe knew a wee bit who I was, but nobody had any idea. And a big skill who I was. And I
No,
came fourth, then I came second in Clash, and
yeah, yeah.
there's always some freak training in his garage that doesn't have social media.
Hey, listen, you were the freak once. You come out of
Yeah,
the
well,
woodwork and you make a name for yourself. Next thing you know, everybody's gunning for you, and that's
that's it.
happening, of course, over in England right now and in Britain because you're the guy. And yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. Guys are going to try to chop you down before you get there. They're going to try to chop you down when you get there. I mean, that's
that's
just
it.
you got a target on your back, just like Cambi does over here. And I think it makes for great fodder with all this shit. I think it makes for a great storyline, and
Yeah,
we just need more guys like myself and more guys like you that aren't afraid to just talk a little smack in a respectful way and say, let's get
yeah.
shit to happen.
I think that's the important thing. It's like doing it with respect, and I think being the best, or even being one of the best, it's not the fucking going to be all sentimental. It can be hard sometimes being the person everyone's chasing down because, as I say, you get people that used to be your friends that no
Yeah.
longer are your friends or are a bit shady or shit on you. And yeah, you're always the one people talk about. People can't wait to drag you down if you have a bad day. So Cambi's probably the same. Like there's a lot of shite posted about Cambi's dumbbell press record. So yeah, without getting too much into it, I
Yeah.
enjoy the banter, but it can be fucking hard, man. People constantly chatting shit about you, especially when it's people that are close to you. So yeah, as well as
Well,
it's good,
I think the other,
it's important to be respectful, and I think some people just some people as
yeah,
well
yeah.
just some people just can't take it. You know,
Well, most of those people don't matter anyhow. But you know what? It really is the other side of that, though, is how you guys are all pushing each other through the sport right now, which is great. Whether it's
yeah,
records or whether it's chasing each other at shows. Listen, I mean, having Isaac last year be atop of that Clash podium, He's one of my favorites. I don't know if you talked to Isaac since
Oh
Clash.
yes, yeah, we chat. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting him on this show, as a matter of fact. But and
He's a nice
another
guy.
guy we got over here, Jesse Nelson, now is just, I mean,
Yeah.
fire. I mean, and there's a reason for that. It's guys like Cambi and you and Piscari and Yuri and all these other guys globally now are setting these bars so high that even if you're good in your small bubble, you know there's a lot bigger fish to fry out there.
That's what I was, and it's funny you've commented at the start to say how the American scene you find is behind the European scene, whereas I'm of a different opinion. So I always say to the guys here, I'm a man. You think you're good, you go to America. Fuck them lads. I think America, for me, like last year at OSG's quite slow, so condition wasn't really a big thing. But I did the Clash in Jersey this year, and I went, and I'm not going to lie, I was arrogant. And me and even Laws was arrogant for me. We under prepped, and I came fourth. And it was because other guys were so fucking fit with sandbags, with movement. So I feel like in America you've got a more complete athlete. I think the guys in Europe are stronger. If you had 5 events that were maxes, we would maybe won.
Okay,
but in America, as a complete athlete, that's my opinion.
I'm going to change my position on that. You're exactly right, and that's really what I meant. If you went statically by event, and you probably have a stronger group of guys, but athletically, you're right. I will say the hometown boys over here.
And maybe it's just because there's more people in America that do it percentage wise. I'm not sure, but I definitely get a big eye opener because even the guy and that's what I was going to say. Like the top 10 of Clash this year. Fuck me, man. Anybody could have won. Like, it was close. Yeah, whereas OSG, it's not the same. So Clash. I loved Clash so much.
I know you're looking forward to going back, man. I'm going to be there too, and I can't wait to meet you in person. And I want to thank you so much for coming on Gym Life Podcast and representing yourself as well as you always do. And I love it, man. I just love it. You got a big fan base over here like you do globally right now. And of course, I'm going to keep cheering you on as well. And I cannot wait to see you down at OSG and do your business. So stay healthy and get ready to compete, my friend. And anything else you want to say?
No, man, just thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. And everybody competing at OSG, I wish you all the best. I wish you healthy and a good prep. I'm looking forward to seeing all my American buddies. Man, I've probably never been as excited for a competition as I have been for OSG because of the people that's going this year, and I know how stacked it's going to be. And I want to just give a shout out to my client, Nick Hine. Nick for me is a dark horse going into OSG, but he shouldn't be a dark horse. Nick is a fucking massive contender to win, and it frustrates me in America that it doesn't get talked about. And maybe it's because he's quiet. Nick's quite a quiet guy. He doesn't have a big following, but man, watch this space. Nobody will forget Nick Hine's name after the OSG this year. I'm going
to pull this clip. I'm going to pull this clip and post it.
Yeah. You post me saying that me and Nick Hine will both be on the podium at OSG this year.
Okay,
guaranteed.
Fair enough. All right, I will hold you to it. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening, man. See you later.
All right.
Bye.